Hello, everybody, and welcome to Watch or Not with Jay and MJ's The Last of Us Episode 5 recap, Endure and Survive. I'm Jay.
I'm MJ.
And, we're going to apologize in advance because we both have been through it this past week.
We certainly have, and we were supposed to have an episode out on Monday, so we apologize for not having that.
Yes, MJ was under the weather. I'm still under the weather. We are under all of the weather. And it makes sense because we're having all of the weather where we are. We're having rain, we're having sleet, we're having sunny spring days. We're having a lot.
Welcome to the Ohio Valley. I say it every year.
I don't like that term. I think we should just understand that this is the way the climate is now everywhere because we're not the only ones experiencing this.
I guess that's true to a point.
Welcome to our Earth's demise.
Oh God! As we're talking about a post-apocalyptic world.
Look, it's not a pandemic that'll kill us. It's gonna be this bullshit. It's gonna be this people who don't understand climate change. But we're not gonna get into that.
Let's get into a cheerier conversation.
Sure. So, did you actually watch this on Friday, or did you wait?
I waited. I was watching the show we were going to be reviewing on Friday and finishing that up. Or we were going to review on Saturday when we recorded. That was supposed to come out Monday, but I watched this Sunday night as normal after the Super Bowl.
See, I watched it after the halftime show. This is what I meant. This is what I was saying. I was like, do people really? Well, I guess people care. Never mind. I won't get that conversation again. But I was kind of like, I don't really care enough about football. I think I watched maybe an ounce of that game, like a thimble of like literally like maybe 80 seconds of the actual game.
My 2 cents on it was I was happy it was an actually good game. I had no skin in it. I didn't care about either team because I don't pull for either team as my team. So the fact that it was a close back and forth game that kept me intrigued, that's all I was happy about.
Who even knows what that means? So
the other listeners to this podcast,
maybe fuck the Super Bowl. I don't care. They're still doing the chop. That's some racist bullshit. Like that stuff needs to be out. Like they need to stop that BS.
Well, okay,
that's not soapbox, but they still do that. Like they're still allowed to do that. That's not okay. That wouldn't have been okay 20 years ago. That wasn't okay. Like that, regardless of what I know, they did that. Did you know? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of the people who have Indian names as their team do that still.
I didn't know that. That's some fucked up bullshit. Like, I'm saying this with a smile on my face, being kind of funny, but I'm being serious. Like when I heard that, I was like, wait, are they doing that? And people were like, yeah, that's what they do. And I'm like, no, that's fucked up. Like that should have been like if the Washington Commanders had changed their name, the Kansas City Chiefs, even if you don't change their name, they should stop that fucking racist bullshit because that's ridiculous to me. Sorry, but it is. Like, how could you not look at that and go, I'm sorry, that's fucked up. It is.
I'm sure some people have.
Do you not think it's fucked up?
I didn't even know they did it anymore.
This is a litmus test. Don't lie.
Oh, no, honestly, I did not see them do it, so this is news that they still do it.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. Because if you watch that game, I watched the beginning and I was like, that's so screwed up.
No, again, I did not see them do it. So to my knowledge, this is brand new. I honestly did not see them do it.
They've been doing it forever, apparently.
That doesn't surprise me with the name of the Chiefs.
That's the bullshit needs to fucking stop. I will not co-sign that fucked up mess. Episode 5, Endure and Survive. It's the rhyme. On time.
Oh, there we go.
So we where did we leave off episode 4?
We left off with Joel and Ellie at gunpoint.
Yes. So this episode, after having no flashbacks in episode 4, this one was kind of like the flashback within the episode. Well, concurrently, right? For a good portion of it, for a good half of it.
So was it really a flashback, or was it? And here's okay, and this is me being pedantic. What is a flashback? Because it kind of filled in where Henry and Sam were during the last 3 days of when Joel and Ellie were also in the city, kind of.
Then that's the flashback. It filled in.
Okay, that's fine. So, I mean, yes, so it was a flashback. The majority of the episode probably was, about half.
It didn't happen concurrently.
It didn't, but you saw
it was
you saw where they were during the events of what happened to Joel and Ellie.
But we also saw we because we started back when 10 days later. Like, and it just showed us the last 3 days. It showed us the last 10 days.
True. It went back to when they actually overthrew Fedra.
Which to me, I was like, it's only been 10 days and y'all have already decided to killing folks? Okay.
I mean, they went real quick down that path. Like, it wasn't even, oh, we'll think about it. We've secured the food and people enjoy what we're having. And we've been slowly falling into this, like worse than Fedra kind of mentality. No, it was like, we just gonna jump off the deep end right into it.
Yeah, I thought, in hindsight, that makes sense because I was like, my brain was thinking it had to have been like, my brain thought like it'd been at least a year
probably,
or a few months. But then I was like, would Henry and Sam still be trying to get out of the city like months later or years later? That obviously doesn't make any sense.
But then again,
when they did say that.
But what that's the thing is, they didn't really fill in what they did for the first little bit. So yeah, I mean, if they were part of the rebellion and then pissed off the leader, maybe they were. But that's what I thought, is like they were part of the cause that started the rebellion, were in good with the girl. I forget what her name is. Kathleen, and then pissed her off, and then she tried to turn on them. That's the route I thought it was going to go.
That's what I thought as well. So we see that the overthrow of the Kansas City QZ was really only 10 days earlier, 10 days prior.
Yes.
And it was obviously just like, the people in the city really overthrowing all the Fedra people. They were beating them to death, like riots in the streets, hanging them. Basically, I think they even said doing all the stuff that they've been doing to other citizens in the city.
Yes, you find out that Fedra was kind of the Kansas City Fedra was its very own kind of thing, where they were, Bernie Trigger people were raping, pillaging, doing whatever they wanted because they thought they had the power and didn't care.
Right. So we see that Henry and Sam are obviously trying to maneuver themselves throughout the city during these riots.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing they're trying to escape, but they don't get to, but they can't escape. Right?
Yeah, so the overthrow of Fedra happened so quickly, and we find out the reason why they're going after Henry and Sam is because he was one of the people who would, I forget, it wasn't a loyalist, but it was practically just the same term, that he was selling people out to Fedra. And you find out who the big person he sold out was later, but so he was, because Kathleen was collecting all of them and was trying to find where Henry was at the very beginning, and literally kills them like dogs in a cage.
Yeah, so we found out that there are things called collaborators, which we kind of understand from episode 4 with the doctor.
Yes.
And I guess what the collaborators did was they would feed Fedra information for money, food,
medicine.
What? Yes, what have you? That's what they would do. And this new overthrow, they've deemed collaborators to be traitors to their cause.
To a point. I mean, if you're going to keep the power who's oppressing you in power, you're in my mind siding with them, so I can understand the resentment.
Right, that they're saying, she said they're traitors to the cause.
Yeah.
And that's when we kind of know, Henry and Sam. Henry has obviously been a collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
So we do see them kind of maneuvering through the city and trying to find a place to hide. And they do show us this cage of people, and Pear Bear and Kathleen are in there with their other people.
You call him Pear Bear.
And they are like, hey, if you tell us where Henry is, we'll spare you. You'll get a free trial. You'll get a trial, you'll be guilty because obviously you are, and then we'll, figure out what to do from there.
And she alludes like
And,
you'll pay your time. Like we're not going to kill you. We'll put you in jail or something. Yeah.
Right. And then she's like, okay, what am I going to speak? So just kill everybody. But then one person speaks up and it's like, yo. I know where they went. Here's the information. Here's what you need to know. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, he's the one who tells Kathleen about the doctor that we saw in the first episode. He spills the beans that, Henry's with whatever the doctor's name was. And that's where she was like, oh, he's a loyalist or whatever. Like that. No one knew. He was obviously better than you people because he didn't get caught.
Yeah. So she's being very condescending.
Oh, yes.
Or what have you. So when this person says that's all I know, she's obviously like, well, I know because you're really good at telling people. And then she says, okay, let's go find, Henry or whatever. She leaves. And then Pear Bear is like, are we really going to give them a trial? And she was like, no, kill them and burn their bodies. Duh.
Yeah, it's easier to hide the ashes and remains.
Like, this bitch. So that's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, it's been barely a day and you've already divulged into chaos. Like, that's weird to me, but okay, great.
Well,
and I guess that makes sense. It's been 20 years. I mean, I don't know how many years it's been since the QZ was there, but I want to be sympathetic to the cause.
I want to be able to understand it better so I can, in turn, intellectually tell you how much of an stupid way they were running the city was. Like, I get you're mad. You're trying to get the, Fedra off your back. But how do you not see you're no better than Fedra currently? Your first act is to kill people in a cage.
Right. My thing would be like, hey, if you were a collaborator, look, you had your reasons, right?
Yeah.
You're banished. Leave the city.
And the thing is,
don't come back.
Well, it's hypocritical because you're mad that they sold people out to Fedra who were killed because they were going against Fedra, but you're going to go and kill the people who are against the cause.
Yeah, and not just kill them, but like you're like mass murdering people.
Yeah.
And these people had like nothing to do like with you specifically, probably. So yeah, I agree. But we see like we know that Henry and Sam are getting help from the doctor. They found a spot that they could hide, found some food, and the doctor's like, the doctor's been sneaking out apparently of their little hideout to go find food and supplies, every couple of days because they're like, hey, we really only have enough food to last us, 11 days.
Yes, and it's only food that Henry and Sam brought because the doctor wasn't able to get any before he ran after the overthrow.
Right. And this is kind of where the flashback starts to meld into episode 4 because they're up in this little attic space. They realize that the doctor hasn't come back. They're confused. And then they hear the commotion of Joel and Ellie.
The commotion of when they crashed into that laundromat.
Right. And they're looking through the windows. They can see kind of a little bit what's going on. You can obviously see Joel's face clearly when he shoots people.
Mm-hmm.
But then they continue to wait, right?
Well, so they were about to go because Henry tells Sam, I know, excuse me. He's like, I've been watching their movements. I know their patterns. Obviously, the doctor, they admit to themselves, isn't coming back because he's been gone for so long. They're down at the front door about to leave. And that's when they, like I said here, Joel and Ellie do the crash and see the gunfight. So Henry's like, okay, change of plans. That's 100% going to be bringing more of the resistance here. We can't go at this time.
Right. And we, the other part I think about when we say that this is starting to cross over is because we do see in episode 4 that space that Melody is the actress name. Yeah. Kathleen and Pear Bear find that area because we see that they've spent 10 days up there drawing and coloring all over the walls and the cans. So in episode 4, Kathleen and Pear find that space.
Well, and the doctor even admits that it's not something they're going to find easily because it's not in his name. It's not a building he's known to be around. He got it from a Fedra agent.
Right. So after Sam and Henry leave, we kind of know. We don't kind of know. We know what's going on. We know now the two stories are going to intersect, and we pop right.
Yeah, this is where it pops back to like where the episode 4 ended.
Yes, and this is kind of like we know that I don't think the guns either the guns don't have any bullets in them at all, or they're just fully unloaded. I'm not sure.
They were out of ammo. It was the two guns. So
yes, they were.
When Henry came up into the attic space to meet the doctor back 10 days ago, they both pulled a gun at each other, and they didn't fire because they're like, "Oh no, okay, I know you." And once they got into the actual like lockdown room, that's when they both go, "Our guns are both unloaded. I don't have any ammo. I don't have anything to replenish it with." So, like you said, we, the watchers, know that the guns that are being pointed at Joel and Ellie are completely empty because they're just out of ammo.
And I thought was I noticed was not really weird, but I was like, huh, is when he gives the gun to Sam, and Sam kind of points the gun a little bit at him, and he moves the gun away to put it at the ground. Even though they're unloaded weapons, he is practicing gun safety.
Yeah. Don't point at anything unless you're willing to pull the trigger.
Exactly. Regardless. I know there's no bullets, but let's be careful. So we pop up with, ending of episode 4. They are, having a civil conversation.
Kind of.
He says, yeah, Henry's like, yo, I'm the most wanted man in Kansas City. Joel's like, stony silence. And, this is where they're really trying to kind of suss each other out. Henry and Sam want out of the city. Joel and Ellie want out of the city. So while Joel is trying to be back in that old Joel state of mind of like, hey, great, you know what? Let's just go our separate ways.
Yeah.
Let's be done with this.
And the thing is, he's, like you said, he's stoic, and when he's being held at gunpoint by Sam, the whole time he's sitting there just trying to size up Henry because he's talking to Henry and he's asking questions like, can I move? Can I get up? And then it goes straight to they're around a bonfire eating dinner together, which is like a quick 180 from being held at gunpoint 2 seconds ago.
Right. So Henry kind of has this plan. He's like, Joel's obviously a man of action.
Yes.
And he's like, I saw how you handled yourself back there. I know a way out. You want out, I want out. Let's help each other. And Joel obviously knows from the stories, from what he's heard, that Henry is a collaborator or a rat. And he's like, I don't work with rats. And Henry's like, well, if you want to get out of the city, you're going to need my help.
I was like, you do
so
today,
they basically,
sir.
Right. So they basically have, shared interest of like, look, help us get out and we'll go our separate ways.
Well, because,
and what is their way out?
So that's where, and I said, Henry brings to the table, he goes, I know the city, you don't. We know that there's no way to go out, because he draws a map and he shows that there's 3 highways circling the city. All 3 highways are covered up atop. So anything that's above or at ground level is dead. So the only way is to go under the highways. So that's,
the main highways are patrolled.
Yeah. So that's where apparently, I don't remember what he said, if it was like a conglomerate or like a specific business built tunnels under the city so that they would go, or maintenance tunnels, so you could go from one building they own to another without having to go outside and across the city. So they're going to use the tunnels to escape from and go under the interstate out into the suburbs and then leave across a bridge that goes across the river out of the city.
Right. Now, the big hiccup in that plan is Joel's like, so how do we know there's the money in the tunnels? And this is Henry says, we were told by Fedra He goes, basically, he's like, you've noticed that there's no infected in this whole city or this area.
Mm-hmm.
We were told by Fedra that they trapped all the infected underground. So there's not going to be anybody in the tunnels. And he's like, but there's infected in the tunnels. And he's like, there's not any infected in the tunnels. I'm telling you there aren't. And he's like, if there are, we'll just turn around and leave. But, you know, he made a very simplistic like explanation of like, hey, you know, they told us that there's infected in the tunnels, so nobody goes in the tunnels, but there's no infected down there for real. Like, and I think he said that because he learned that through collaborating and the person that he was informing that there weren't any infected in the tunnels. Right?
Well, yeah, because
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Because Fedra forced everything down in the tunnels just to clean up the city. Because we even mentioned last episode that it seems very clean, like no infected, no vines, nothing like you saw in Boston. But that's where he's, like you said, through his collaborating, he found out that yes, everyone knew they were in the tunnels, but Fedra did a sweep and took out of everybody that was infected down there. So there shouldn't be anybody, maybe one or two at most.
Right. And they get in the tunnels, pretty good. Everything's going fine. And they find this kind of underground community where no one's there now, but obviously it was inhabited. There's drawings on the walls, there's rules, you know, rule 1, stay quiet, rule 2, you know,
it looks like a kindergarten class. Yeah.
And it was obviously set up for children to play in.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam, who we forget to mention, is deaf and is Henry's little brother.
Yes.
So during this, you know, Joel is really trying to stay, you know, let's keep moving. And they're like, look, let's just rest. It's daylight outside. Let's let it get a little darker. And then we can, you know, move after that, you know, just to make sure we're under the cover of light or cover of darkness. But this is when we start to hear Henry's story about why he collaborated.
Well, why he collaborated and also why Kathleen hates him personally. But as you said, so Henry has a younger brother. His name is Sam. Sam is deaf, but apparently Sam had contracted some type of cancer. They didn't say what
leukemia.
Type. Leukemia. Okay. So contracted leukemia, and the only drug that could help cure him was in short supply and was held on by Fedra. And the only way to possibly get some was to give kind of like a big gesture for a big gesture. So that's where Henry openly admits that he wasn't honest with Joel, because he told Joel he had never killed somebody personally. But he then changes his story now and says, okay, I wasn't completely honest. I've never really pulled the trigger, but I did hand over this person to Fedra to get that medicine for my brother. But that person ended up being Kathleen's brother, the other leader of the resistance, which apparently everybody loved. Everybody would have followed anywhere and done anything for. So that's why Kathleen is now the main person in charge of the resistance as well.
Yeah. And we're kind of seeing where I think we're starting to see where there's this parallel happening now. Because, you know, we have Sam and Ellie aren't the same age, but they're bonding over, you know, they found an old comic book, they're bonding, they're playing games over there, you know. She's actually being a very good, like, I'm assuming as an only child, she's being a very good, like, I'm going to say big sister because he's small.
Yes. That's how
to
I would
him.
picture it.
And Henry is like, you know, Joel knows that if he were in Henry's situation, I think it's probably realized if he was in Henry's situation, he would have done the exact same thing.
Oh, 100%.
To protect what he loves. And he's kind of in a position now where he doesn't really love Ellie, but he would definitely, I think now he's realizing what he would do to actually protect her. And and again, we're seeing just episode by episode that mask slip where he's really starting to see her as a replacement for his daughter that he has to find a way to protect. And that I think maybe he feels like he will have he can forgive himself or redeem himself a little bit by protecting Ellie as well. So I think that that's pretty cool that they're really kind of mirroring that.
Well, and I think, and this may be my take on it a little more. Like, yes, I feel like, yes, she's a replacement for his daughter, but he's also seen that, okay, most people I've had close to me are dead. Bill's dead. My brother's gone. Who was the girl back from the first episode? Tess. Like, Ellie is kind of all I have left now, and he's realizing he feels probably the same way he does about all those other people that he would have given his life to protect.
Right.
But that's where, like I said, the bond's growing, and you start to notice that he's starting to care for her, and what he's willing to do to protect her starts to show more.
Yeah. So we do see that Henry's plan works. They get out of the tunnels. They come up in the suburbs, over the ridge, over the hills and through the woods.
to grandmother's house.
We go. And they're like, yo. I told you, we got this. Let's go. And then we start hearing sniper rounds go off. Now, at this point, we don't know if this is just we're like, this is just one person who's in a house who's holed up, which is what it feels like. That this person is just shooting, sees them, and is trying to snipe them from, above. From the house, they have to go past and through to get across the river. Joel is, a man of action. Hey, y'all, stay here. Don't fucking move. Do what I fucking tell you to do. And I'm going to go and get the drop on this guy. He has shit aimed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Joel gave him plenty of shots to shoot him. And even Henry, who ran away a little bit, he couldn't even hit him while he was running. So, yes, whoever's shooting
it's dark.
It's dark, but he still has shit aim.
It's dark. There's no street lights out there.
There's a full moon.
I mean, he said shit aim. I'm like, look, it's dark outside, but whatever. It's fine. Joel gets to the house, gets up the stairs, and I'm confused because I'm like, if this man saw you, was shooting you out to the house, why wouldn't you cover the door? I don't know. I'm confused. But Joel busts through the door, and there's an old man up there with a sniper rifle. And Joel's like, look, and this is also another kind of revelation, is that I think Joel 3 episodes ago would have just shot this man and walked away. But he's softening, and he's like, give me the gun, stay here for an hour, and you could just go on your way.
I don't know. Again, yes, he was tougher back when it was just him and Tess and Ellie wasn't involved. But I feel like you've seen more and more, and looking at what was previewed for the next episode, I think he's starting to have remorse for the things he did in the past when he was with Tess. But it wasn't like he's like started becoming less like this the last 3 days. I think he's been doing this for the last 5 years or however long it's been since him, his brother and Tess went out and did the things they did.
But see, I don't know about that. I think that I feel like now he's really starting to think about the consequences of his actions.
Yes, more than he used
to. We're seeing this on screen, is what I'm saying. We're seeing him questioning things, and I think his thought was like, maybe we don't need to kill everybody.
So we're seeing the growth of Joel.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
Why are you trying to negate that point?
I'm not. I just think that the growth.
You are.
I think it's been happening longer than you're saying. Than what
you're being combative.
Maybe a little bit.
I'm kidding. So the guy raises his gun. Obviously, Joel has to shoot him.
Yes.
Dumb move. So we're like, my first thought was like, why is this old man just hold up in his house? And we hear the walkie-talkie, and it's fucking Kathleen and Pear Bear to the rescue, and they're like, keep him pinned down. We're almost there. And Joel looks out the window and he sees the trucks.
Well, and first off, when you say old, I mean, like, we're talking like 90s, I thought, the first time I saw him.
Oh, I didn't think he was that old.
Like
I guess he was like 70 or something.
The man was decrepit.
I don't think he was decrepit.
You're
so ageist.
The reason he's got shit aim is because he probably has shit eyesight. B, there's no way he was going to move that gun quicker and take Joel out. Like, I don't know what he was thinking. But yes, all that leads up to, as you said, you hear Kathleen's voice come over the walkie, and Joel sees the truck coming down the lane, which is a cul-de-sac, so it's like a dead end.
Yes. So obviously mayhem ensues.
Yeah.
Joel is sniping from the rooftops. So they try to run, obviously, and they can't get away because the whole force is there. Kathleen and Pepper's force is there. And Kathleen is like, yo, like, just come out and, we'll handle this. And Henry's like, okay, I'll come out, just let the two kids go. And she's like, sorry, no, they were with you. Which I'm like, this cut, like, I'm sorry to say that word, but I'm like, you would literally kill an 8-year-old boy.
This creative uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
That has done nothing, like literally nothing at all to anybody. He's a victim of circumstance.
Kathleen's entire opinion, and she says it outright afterwards, was, maybe did you ever think it was destiny for him to die? You chose to kill my brother to save him. You could just let your brother die. Why did my brother have to go to save yours? That's Kathleen's mentality.
Yeah, she's stupid. But regardless, Henry goes to give himself up, and he tells, Ellie and Sam, I'm gonna give myself up, just run. And before Kathleen can shoot him, their big snowplow truck that crashed into the house and set on fire starts to sink.
Well, yes, to inform. So when Henry, Sam, and Ellie started to run down the cul-de-sac, the truck that was in front of the caravan was that big plow truck that Joel talked about in the previous episode that was used to clear the highways of trucks or cars that had ran out of gas. And this is what good aim looks like. Joel snipes the driver from the window the old man was sniping out of in the darkness, thus causing the car to crash into the other building.
Right. So the truck sinks.
Yes.
And this is kind of immediately we're going back to the area that Pear Bear showed Kathleen, where he was like, hey, the ground is kind of collapsing, and this is kind of also where I'm thinking Henry's story was half true. Well, it was fully true, but it was but half true in a way where, like, yeah, they drove everything underground, but there's nothing in these tunnels. But so I guess they were all in a certain tunnel, and the ground sinks, and this is where all of the affected come out, World War Z style.
Oh yeah,
doing backflips and somersaults out of the hole,
climbing over each other like they don't care. Like it's first come, first serve.
Cartwheels, somersaults. They're doing triple luxes and axles and all kinds of stuff out of this hole. And obviously her force turns attention away from Henry and Ellie and Sam to fight the masses. And Joel is just sniping, picking them off one by one by one to try to save Ellie, Henry, and Sam.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, he wasn't just like, he was on point. Every shot he took was one that was about to take Ellie down. It was, okay,
well trained.
There's Ellie, pop. There's Ellie, pop. Like, he followed her zigzag, did not matter. And it was headshot, headshot, headshot. The man has skills.
Yes, very much aim. Very, very great aim. So Ellie obviously takes her cue from Joel to be a little bit selfless, helps Henry and Sam out from underneath the truck that they're getting attacked by the infected, and she gets them, and they go running to the house. But obviously Kathleen catches up with them, points the gun at them, and before she can shoot anything, I don't know if it's a clicker.
It's a clicker.
Or a clicker pops out of nowhere and jumps directly under her face and fucking wrecks the shit out of that bitch.
Can we talk about, so we've seen the general evolution here. We've seen the general infected who can still see. We've seen the clickers whose faces are covered, and they can't see without making sonar noises. Which, yes, they confirm in the end that the child zombie, whatever, was a clicker who killed Kathleen. Can we talk about what happened to Pear Bear before we go any further?
The bloater? What the hell's a bloater?
What exactly? He walked out, and so where a clicker has their face covered, and apparently you can't get anything through with a gun unless it's like heavy artillery. A bloater, it looked like that had covered their entire body, so it was almost as if like they came out in a suit of armor.
So, do you want to hear the wiki of bloaters?
Like what? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Bloaters are the fourth rarest and most dangerous stage of the infected.
Oh.
They take years to develop and reach this stage after years of exposure to the cordyceps strain infection. They are incredibly strong and physically imposing and are covered in thick fungus that effectively act as armor plates.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're extremely aggressive and rather slow-moving and uncoordinated, making them more unpredictable.
So...
Oh, but they also see using echolocation.
So yeah, so it's just a further developed clicker to where instead of it's just on its face, it's its entire body.
Right.
But yeah, so this thing, and I saw a picture on, I think it was Twitter, where the person who is playing this bloater is like a 6'5" tall Scandinavian actor who's just massive, almost like the Wall and things from Game of Thrones, and that's why he looks so massive. But yes, the bloater pops out. He's the only one of that type that comes out of the ground. And this is where Perry literally looks at Kathleen and goes, "Run, don't look back."
Please.
Perry, yes, Pear Bear. Pear Bear just goes, "Run, don't look back." And you just see Kathleen running. And the camera, normally on things of this nature, you would see it maybe, over her shoulder and see what she's looking at in front of her. No, they decide to keep the camera on her face as she's running away and like move backwards. So you see Pear Bear in the background fighting the bloater. He's unloading his AR. Nothing's piercing this armor. The bloater gets up to him and literally decapitates Pear Bear.
But that's what happens in the game too, apparently.
I thought Perry was a new character.
It is, but the way that the bloater killed him is the way it happens in the game.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yes, so
yes, the bloater will rip off. The bloater rips off your head or rips off your face or something of that nature.
Oh, it's just creepy, scary, weird that this thing comes out of nowhere. I mean, it's massive. It's a tank.
Yeah, but obviously, they can see after we kind of see after Kathleen gets, halted by a clicker, that the infected basically overrun her entire army and start making their way toward the city.
Yeah, which is weird to me that you see them all move back into town versus finishing off who's there. I figured they would have still sensed other people and would have gone for Sam, Henry, Joel, Ellie, the rest of the people who were still alive, unless they didn't know they were there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, or unless part of our army started running back toward the city, which would have made sense.
True, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so they get away. Last thing we see is that they get away. They find a hotel over the river through the woods, and Henry is saying thanks, basically like, hey, whatever, what have you, thanks, we got out, blah, blah, blah. And Joel eventually is just like, maybe you're right, maybe we should just stick together. Again, showing that mask of like, I think Henry was like, well, we could go our own ways. And Joel's like, no, why don't you guys just come with us?
Well, and Ellie, before all hell broke loose, was talking to them as they're going down the cul-de-sac before the old man started shooting at them, and even asked them to come to Wyoming where they're going to find Joel's brother. Right. And even Joel's instant reaction was, hey, no. And Ellie comes back with, it's a large state. It can handle 2 more people. It's not going to break us to have them tag along and have a couple extra people around. And she even says, I just break Joel down. I ask him 1,000 times until he says yes, and then it's fine.
But the thing is is that she didn't do that this time.
She didn't. Joel did it. Came to that conclusion on his own very quickly.
Correct. But as Ellie and Sam are, in the other bedroom, supposed to be asleep, they're chatting, quote unquote. He's got his etch a sketch and he's writing, sentences to her. They're writing back and forth. And he asked her, if you turn into a monster, are you still you inside? And this is where she realizes that he was bitten under the truck on his ankle.
Well, I think doesn't he pull his leg back? I think he shows her.
Yes, she realizes that he's bitten. And she thinks I'm immune. So she cuts her hand and tries to use her blood to heal Sam. So she puts her blood on the wound, smears it in there. And he says, will you stay up with me? And she says, yes. They try to stay awake with each other. She wakes up the next morning, obviously fallen asleep in the chair. Sam's sitting on the edge of the bed. And her blood did not help. He's turned.
Well, so you don't know that. So he's sitting on the other edge of the bed looking out at, or what looks to be looking out the window. But we know he's deaf, so he can't hear anything. So he doesn't hear her wake up. And then that's when she goes and taps on his shoulder, and that's when he turns, and you see, oh, yes, like you said, he's turned. He's infected. Her blood did not heal him like she expected.
Yeah, and then what else happens?
Another one of those scenes that I'm so glad I'm not a part of having to shoot some of these scenes. But so Ellie obviously freaks out. Sam attacks her, and this wakes Joel and Henry up in the next room because they were in separate rooms. And then Ellie and Sam come crashing through the door where I don't remember if they knocked the gun out of Joel's hand or if it's on the floor and he just fell asleep with it next to him. But Joel goes to reach for the gun to kill Sam, but Henry gets it first because he doesn't want his brother to die. So you sit there and you think, oh, Henry's just going to let Sam kill Ellie, and he has got Joel at gunpoint. And then out of the blue, Henry just instinctively goes and sees infected and pulls the trigger, and I'm getting chills describing it. Literally has to kill his brother Sam, the person he's done all of this for to protect, getting the leukemia medicine, turning in Kathleen's brother, going through all this hell and getting away from that for lack of a better word, zombie apocalypse like that just happened. He now has to be the one to kill his brother. And just something in him, the moment it happens, you can tell is just broken, because that's where he doesn't know how to function without his brother. His brother was his entire world, and he would do anything for him. And now that his world's gone, Henry's just broken. So what does he do? What's his end decision after he decides to put Sam down?
Are you asking me?
I don't want to say it. I hate to say it. I will.
Don't be a pussy about this.
So trigger
Henry
moment. Sorry to warn.
So Henry obviously kills himself, shoots himself with a gun, and Joel's very taken aback. He tries to stop Henry from doing it, but he does it. But after that, they actually go out. They bury them. Ellie takes Sam's etch a sketch and writes, "I'm sorry" on it. And she's the first one to leave. She picks up her bags and she's ready to go. And she walks away and she's like, "Can we go now?" Basically. And we see Joel kind of lingering on their graves a little bit. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a switch where Joel is becoming more sympathetic and more understanding and more like people are important. And Ellie, I think, is going to become more cynical of like, what's the fucking point?
Well,
like, why? Why even go through all of this if I can't save one person? Like, what's the point of doing any of this? That's my thought, and then that's where the episode ends.
So here's my discussion topic for this point. So here's what I took away from it. Ellie is a child, and Joel openly admits back when they were in that little bunker that things like this are easier for kids. You don't have any people to rely on you. You're just kind of carefree, and you can get over things quicker. And that's where Ellie was able to let Sam in. They had an instant connection with the comic books. They grew to be friendly, and Ellie sees no problem with getting connected to people. So that's where she's been told and that she's been special this whole time because her blood makes her immune. So she obviously tried to treat Sam. So she thinks, oh, not that she's a superhero, but that she, that's what she's been saved for. Is this is what she's for. Like her blood can heal and protect people. So when it doesn't, and she just instantly loses that person that she had this connection with, yeah, I think she's gonna start getting colder. But I think Joel, in the long run, is starting to realize that where Henry was so connected to Sam that once Sam was dead, he decided to end his own life because what's left for him, like we've been mentioning, Joel's starting to get connected to Ellie. He's finding that person just like his daughter that could be him. So I think Joel's starting to realize I have a connection with Ellie getting close to the same kind of level. I mean, it could grow into that. And I don't know what would happen if I lost Ellie. Would I, in my life, would I have anything to live for at that point? That's my take on it. I think Joel's starting to realize the similarities between him and Henry with how Henry felt towards Sam and how he feels towards Ellie. And I think Ellie's just starting to grow more callous because of the things she's having to go through and experience in losing people because she's never had to deal with that before because she's young. She's never had to deal with loss per se.
Yeah. So how would you rate this episode? I think it's a solid 8.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with a 7.5. Having seen episode 3 and the amount of detail you can put into someone's backstory. No, I get it. This was not a backstory of Henry. You're not supposed to care for him, I believe, like you would Bill in episode 3. But the fact that they made me care so much about him and that they know they can do that, you could have maybe given me a little more in that first half of the episode, especially since this was building on kind of a lackluster story of what was going on in the last episode. So I don't know. I feel like the flashback could have been better. That's my only, you've shown me you can do it. I'm not expecting a full make me cry moment that you gave me in episode 3, but make me feel a little connection. Like I didn't feel any remorse at the end of this episode when Henry and Sam were gone, or any sadness. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Oh, I mean, I did, but that's just me. That's why I've been giving it an 8.
Maybe I just didn't pay attention. Maybe that's me. Maybe I'm too cold. Maybe I'm closed off to the world. But I did not care for these characters like I did with the characters from episode 3.
Yeah, maybe you are. Who knows? Everybody has their own opinion. Well, I'm excited for the last 4 episodes to see how this ramps up and how it ends. So I'm hoping that we, see a little bit. I think we meet Tommy in the next episode. So I'm excited to see how that goes and what kind of backstory we get there. That'll be cool. I'm excited. Can't wait.
I'm getting excited because the more I watch the show, the more I want to go play the game and to see if it's close to the same experience because of the levels and things I'm getting with the show. I hope the story with this game is the same.
But they've changed a lot of the story, or some of the story at least. Like you wouldn't get the Bill and Frank story in the game, obviously. In the game, Sam wasn't deaf, for what I heard from the after show, but I could see your point, regardless of that. All right. Well, hopefully we'll have a new episode for you all on Monday of a regular episode, assuming we don't get sick again. But thanks for tuning in for episode 5 recap. We will talk to you all soon.
All right. Bye. You've been listening to Watch or Not with Jay and MJ.
Interact and give us suggestions on what to watch at watchornotpodcast@gmail.com.
You can follow us on Twitter at watchornot_pod.
And don't forget about Instagram, you guys, at watchornotpod.
Don't forget you can support the pod by joining our Patreon at Watch or Not with Jay and MJ.
And subscribe and leave a review wherever you guys listen to podcasts. Talk to you soon.